Hey folks, welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here as always. This is my second podcast I'm recording in 2 days in the last throes of a gray August afternoon here in New York City. On the show today, comedian Ray Devito. Ray, I met from doing comedy in New York City. I believe I first met him at the Creek in the Cave, but I've known of Ray Devito before that. When I was starting comedy in the suburbs of Baltimore, and I was like going on YouTube and I was trying to find as much as I could about stand-up comedy. One of the first things I watched was a series of videos by a comic named Rob Pavoni. And if you know anything of Rob, you might know him as the guy who did the Taco Bell rant. That's a very famous video on YouTube. Kind of the original 4 chords from Axis of Awesome is how I call that. And he had a bunch of videos on his YouTube channel where he would talk about life as a comic. And one of them was about comedian vehicles, and Ray DeVito was featured in that video. Along with a comic named Jesse Joyce. So when I got to New York City and met Ray DeVito, I was like, it was sort of like low key, like meeting someone who's like a part of the beginnings of my interest in stand-up comedy. And he's a very funny comic, and he's a actor as well. And it'll be I'm interested to see where this conversation goes, because he's been a road comic for a very long time. He's got a lot of experience in doing stand-up, and I always like talking to people like that. If you've listened to my episode with Tom Rhodes or Mark Riccadonna, comics like that are sort of like the people that I want to be, like these sort of like the vaulted folks, the kind of like vaulted folks that are just kind of like in it and doing the work. And I want to hear more about what Ray's career has been like. I think my fiance's come in the door, so if I have to pause this, that'll be the reason why. So I'm curious to see how things go. If you guys enjoyed the show and you want to share it with somebody, you can go to iTunes and leave a review. You can also add us to your favorite playlist on Stitcher, and we are on Spotify as well. Those are all things that help grow the show. I'm on Twitter at Comic Will Carey. And you can also check out my Patreon, patreon.com/awesomedisaster. I'm doing some cool exclusive stuff here. If you like what I'm doing here for free, you might be interested in what I've got going on over there. So thank you guys again for listening. And let's go to my chat with comedian Ray DeVito. Analog mixer. Basically, when I decided I wanted to start a podcast, I Googled what does Mark Maron use and just got
oh wow.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this, and yeah, we were talking earlier. Like, this is your neighborhood, also, Astoria.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
Let's see. I moved here maybe. Are we doing the podcast now?
Yeah, we're doing the podcast.
This is a podcast.
Now.
Oh, all right. I didn't know if we're just BSing.
Oh yeah. No, I do. That's the other thing I picked up from Marin and Pete Holmes. Just covertly turn it on.
Oh, when did it start? Just so
like a couple seconds ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. We didn't talk about my STD scares. That's a joke. We did not talk about STD.
Yeah, no, didn't happen.
Yeah. First, I have to have sex to have STD scares.
Right. Yeah, you're putting the cart before the STD.
Yeah. So I moved here, I want to say, originally like 2004-ish.
Uh-huh.
But then I was just doing comedy on the road full time. So because of that, there was no real reason for me to be here.
Uh-huh.
Like I was just here and I just go to my apartment and then I just go I was just on the road just making money to pay rent. I was never really here.
Uh-huh.
So I subletted my room to comedian Matt Taylor, who now lives in LA. I don't know what he's up to now, but I subletted my room for him for basically like 4 years while I just did the road.
Uh-huh.
And then so I came back, I'm going to say officially maybe like 10 years ago. So right around like 2010, I quit doing the road and just lived here, and at the time Jesse Joyce was my roommate. I don't know if you know Jesse.
I do, and this is an interesting segue into how I know you.
Okay.
When I first moved, when I was like just starting as a comic in Baltimore, and I was like, okay, and I had decided I wanted to move to New York, mostly because Scott Moran and Rory Scovel came through Baltimore, and I was on a show with them. And I was like, "Oh, what's New York like?" And they were like, "Oh, New York's great. You should go there. You should save some money, try to get a job if you can." And I was like trying to prepare for like being a comic in New York, and I watched Rob Parvonian's like Life as a Comic videos on YouTube. And so I heard of you and Jesse Joyce from when you guys were all talking about your cars.
Yeah.
In that one video.
Yeah, dude. Funny story about Rob Pavoni. Because right around that time, he did that Pachelbel rant thing that like blew up on YouTube.
Yeah, went super big.
And just out of the blue, George Carlin happened to see it. I mean, out of the blue. The thing was like, it was like one of the first viral videos.
Yeah.
Like as far as the internet goes. And it's pretty funny for the listeners out there. Pachelbel rant, if you haven't seen it, it's worth a chuckle. And George Carlin saw it, and he liked the guy, so he hired Rob to open up for him.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so Rob would go on the road and open up for George Carlin, and basically all the way up until George Carlin died.
Until he died, yeah.
And the funny thing about that is Rob used to say it was like kind of weird. Like they would do a gig, like say in Baltimore, and then the next night or 2 nights later they have a gig in, let's say, Chicago, and so George Carlin would just fly from like Baltimore to Chicago while Pavoni got in his hatchback and drove. You think he'd be like, "Hey, how about you just jump in the plane with me?"
Right.
But no, he would drive
from Baltimore to Chicago.
Yeah. Now, in Carlin's defense, I don't know if he had a private plane or I have no idea. But I just thought it was weird. Like Rob's got to drive like 800 miles in 2 days.
And I'm curious if like Carlin was like, Carlin always struck me as, even though he was like this very well-known, respected comic, I don't know, like I can't imagine him having like a private. I don't imagine that guy, like, I don't think he would fly commercial, but I don't know if he's like private jet level.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Well, I can't see him doing like public plane just because everyone that sees him be like, I don't want to get on the plane. I want to get in the plane. I don't want.
Let Evel Knievel get on the plane. Such a good joke. So what was the fate of the car in that video? Because you had like 350,000 miles on the car when you did that video, like. And that was like, what, 12 years ago?
Yeah. Oh, it died. I mean, I ran it to death. It got to the point, like, I remember at some point that specific car, like, the defrost quit working to the point where, like, I was just driving in the snow, and I'd be on, like, the interstate, and I'd have to, like, pull over and scrape. And I was like, all right, this is just unsafe. Like, this car's just got to go. But, yeah, I ran it into the ground. Yeah.
And you and Jesse Joyce were roommates at that time. Oh, that's cool. So like you were like a full-time comic on the road and then moved to New York City?
Yeah.
How did that decision come about? I'm curious.
Well, honestly, like just doing I was just featuring on the road. You know, I'd feature, and I was headlining some like very low-level B rooms. But like you can only get, I don't know, so much like.
There's kind of like a plateau to featuring on the road.
Yeah, like that was it. I had to do something to try to do something to like get to another level or something. And so yeah, I just had to. And then I actually came here and I started temping like at Citigroup and stuff because you would make more. Like there was a comedy club booked by Yoder, Connections in Toledo, Ohio, and you would get $700 to headline Wednesday, Thursday, two shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. But then I would temp at Citigroup and would get like $800 a week. Like you got more money just being a backup secretary in New York City than you did being the funniest guy in all of Toledo, Ohio. And like it was like, all right,
that's gnarly. So
I just had to like, I was like, I'm done doing the road. I gotta. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of plateaued out. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm already headlining Toledo and Connections. Where do you go after that? You know what I mean? Like I already plateaued out as far as like, and that's like a B room. So like I already plateaued, and no one's gonna headline you in an A room if you got no. If
you have like no TV.
Yeah. No one's coming to
Yeah, so. that makes sense to. Yeah, that makes total sense to me actually. Like you. and I'm on a much lower level even from you, I think, but there's a certain
Oh
plateau.
no, I'm pretty low.
I was saying more about myself. There's a certain like plateau because I feel like comedians and there's so much disrespect that gets thrown at comedians, not just from like people who don't understand what it's like or performing comedy, but from the people that are actually hiring you. Like there's a certain level of like of indignity that comes from the nature of the business model.
Right.
That you kind of eventually are like, well, I can't do this anymore or I'm going to fucking kill myself.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, let me find a way to keep doing this thing that I love, but also have some joy in my life.
Right.
So, okay. So you were full time on the road and then you moved to New York and you're from Cleveland originally.
Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah.
Cleveland originally. Now Cleveland, I know like everyone, the joke about Ohio is like, oh, there's like nothing going on there. Or like there's people tend to like not, every time I talk to people from Ohio, it just comes to like sports. But Cleveland's like a cool city. But Cleveland is like a cool city now, from what I understand. That's like a cool hit place.
You
to
know,
be in
I don't know much about Cleveland outside of doing comedy there and like when I'm there, whenever I'm there, I'm like I really don't have much family. I mean, my parents both died when I was young. Like by the time I was 32, they were both dead. My mom died of cancer when I was 29, and then my dad never really recovered. And I think if it would have been the opposite, if my dad would have died first, my mom would have been okay. But like he never, he didn't really like, you know, he just felt guilty. He had grandchildren at that time, and like he's like thought it was unfair that he got to see them and that my mom didn't. So then he would just feel guilty anytime he had a good day. So I think he never got over that.
Right.
But like. So I really don't have anything else to do in Cleveland outside. I just comedy. I just
outside of comedy, and then like your like childhood memories there.
I guess I do have like. Well, that's the other thing too. Like the childhood friends that I do have will go to comedy shows. So like I could catch up with them there. I don't gotta like go. You know what I mean? Like I don't gotta go to their houses and stuff. I'll just see them at my shows.
Yeah, and
then we'll hang out there. So in a weird way, it's like all right.
Oh no, I understand. I don't have much reason to be in my hometown except for during the holidays to see my parents and my one friend from high school who still lives there that I'm cool with. But yeah, there's not a whole lot else, a whole lot other reason to be there. If my parents were living anywhere else, I would never not be there really anymore.
Right.
What was it? Okay. So, and then what? And what was your like your home life growing up? Did you have a lot of siblings, or did you have like brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got two sisters. One 2 years older, the other one 2 years younger. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's it. Yeah. So that was it. What was it like? I don't know. Just. My dad was a carpet salesman. My mom worked for an insurance company. I had to share a bedroom with my two sisters till I was about 12, and then we all got our own rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there this like early? Did you have a moment when you're like, I gotta get out of Cleveland?
Yeah, there's only so much.
Because I had to because I eventually hit a point. I was like scared to leave my hometown when I was really young, and then I realized like I don't want to grow old and die here.
Yeah, no, there is part of that. Like I'd see like what's around or whatever, just not what's around like it's bad, but like it's like all right, I gotta. I don't want to do anything here, you know.
Sure.
And then my dad died when I actually had just moved back to New York City. He died like he was just going in for a regular. I want to say it was I'm going to say they were going to put a stent in, and then because he was having heart issues, and then they were like, you know, we'll just do a bypass, and like a piece of plaque broke off, and he had a stroke during the operation, and he died the next day. So it came out of nowhere.
Jesus.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and then when after my mom passed away, like that was where I would crash on the road. I would I would live with my dad, and then I'd just be on the road full time. And also Cleveland is more in the middle of everything to do on the road, like as far as like
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and like that kind of stuff.
No, I mean
or work.
I mean for road work.
Okay,
it's you know what I mean. Like one week you'll be in D.C., another week you'll be in Chicago. Where Cleveland's like kind of more middle central. You can get to a lot of places easier. Then it's way easier to drive to Omaha, Nebraska, from Cleveland than it is New York City.
Right.
So that was another reason why it's kind of, and also it's not fun driving out of New York City.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like every time I go out of Newark because I like to get actually out of New York before I actually have to get out. And
and then you pay $18 every time you cross a bridge. Like
oh my God, yeah. You
so,
spend like $50 just on bridges.
Yeah, so it's good to get that. I don't know. So it was easier to do the road from Cleveland. And
when did you? How old were you when you started comedy?
Let's see. 25, 26-ish. So like a few years after college.
Okay. And what did you go to school for?
Marketing.
Okay. That could, I would imagine that could help the
to a degree. I don't know. Like I got an MBA too, which if you gave me a financial calculator right now, I'd have no idea like why calculate the net present value of anything, or like what I mean. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I mean,
and you started in Ohio.
Yeah. I started in Cleveland.
Okay, started in Cleveland. And what were what was like the scene like in Cleveland? What was the big club there?
Well, it's right before it was Hilarities hadn't opened. Like Hilarities had just shut down. So there was just the Cleveland Improv, and they were not nice to local comics.
Yeah, that's been my understanding of the Improvs, is that they don't really nurture like the local comics.
Yeah, they had no. They did not care for us at all. So I would start at the Hilarities in Akron. Which is now called Funny Stop, but which is still the same owners. But there was a Hilarities in Cuyahoga Falls, which is Akron area.
Yeah,
and that's where I started. It was there, and then also the Funny Farms. There was a Funny Farm in Canton, which is now closed, and a Funny Farm in Youngstown, which is also closed. But those were my homes. Like I'd start there, and I took like if you know the book, Dave Schwensen, The How to Be a Working Comic.
I didn't have that one. I had the Judy Carter book.
Okay, but you know of the Dave Schwensen.
I've heard that name.
Okay, he's the one that did like the How to Be a Comedian workshops at the Improv. So like that's how I started. I didn't know what to do, so I'm like, I called the Improv. I'm like, hey, can I come and try? And they're like, you could take this workshop, this Dave Schwensen thing. So I did that, and I will say this about Dave Schwensen. I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. I have no ill will to the guy. But I did have a joke where, because you do like an amateur, like your graduating thing. And he said, I stole the joke, which I did not steal. He's like, that joke is too good for someone to be. And it's not even a good joke. I'll tell you the joke right now. Is how I like to, I like to girl. I had a crush on this girl, and I wanted to go on a date with her, and she's like, no, we're too good of friends. I respect you too much to have sex with you or whatever. And my buddy is like, whoa, what the hell, dude? I had sex. I screwed her the other night or whatever. And like, whoa, dude, she doesn't respect you at all. Yeah, it's just it's a good joke. Yeah, it's stupid, and it's funny coming from like a 26-year-old. And I remember him going like, he was like, you got to write your own jokes here. And like, that was my joke. That was my joke. Yeah. All my other jokes were atrocious. Don't get me wrong. My other jokes were atrocious.
Sure.
But that was my joke. And I never forgot that guy's like, oh, you got to do your own jokes here. There's no doing other people. I'm like, then whose joke is it if it's not my joke?
Exactly. Tell me who it is. Like, I don't know who it is, but I know it's somebody's.
yeah.
So you started doing that, and did the clubs at that time, was it all like, new talent bringers? Was there any open mic scene at all?
That was it. You would have to take the entire workshop to get to do one of the graduating class showcase. So it essentially was a bringer, but you had to pay like $300 to do this. So I only took it once. I know some people that took like 3 or 4 times. Like they would take it every.
So it's like
$1,000
to do
like he would give you another email when that class was done. Like, hey, do you want to sign up for that? And it's like this sounds kind of scammy.
Yeah.
But no, you would just do the the hilarities in Akron, and then they would let you host. And that's also one way they don't have to pay the host. That's another thing. But they would let, they would do like a new talent thing, and then they would give you like a night you get to host. And that's fine with me because I got to perform.
Yeah.
And back then, like, they were packed. So it was really good. But I will say the one good thing about taking a class like that, and I tell that to people that are just starting out, is it gives you a little bit of a community, like other people that are also starting out. Because then, like, some of them were from Columbus area, and they would know of like an open mic night somewhere down there, and then you drive down and you do that. So it gives you like a little crew.
Yeah, sometimes
to start out with.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes classes, like the educational part is important, but then it's also the like these are the people that you're going to meet.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I felt the same way when I was taking I took a voiceover class earlier this year, and I started thinking, okay, I know some technique stuff now, and now I know this person, and then I had my instructor on the show.
Oh, nice, nice.
So like you start kind of like piecing it together because I feel like it's the wild, wild west all over again. We're all just kind of like scraping out our little islands.
Right, right.
Or sometimes I feel like did you ever see Titanic?
Yeah.
Okay. So after the ship sinks and everyone's like trying not to freeze to death, and everyone's just trying to find like their piece, their door. So I feel like
that reminds me of comedy.
Yeah, I feel like we're all just trying to find a door. Although the comedic equivalent, there wouldn't be any debate about whether Jack could fit on a door too. Rose would just kick Jack in the head. Yeah. Sorry, my nerdiness for that movie comes out on occasion. So you're starting taking this class. That's smart. That's a smart business move on this club's part. And are you like working your way up from host to feature then, or does that take a while?
Yeah, you know what was very good for that? There was another guy that also taught a guy. He's now passed away, Mike Veneman, and he was a working comic. He was a headliner all across the country, and he was from the Cleveland, Akron area.
Yeah.
And what was good with him is he would actually take you on the road with him and like let you MC. Like a lot of clubs didn't have hotel rooms for MC sometimes, but you're getting to do it. And then through him, that's how I got in with like funny business, like Yoder.
Ah, yeah, Yoder.
And
was Tribble still around at this time? The Tribble runs, I've heard about those.
Yeah, I never did him. And I want to say I met him once years later. But I never got. But also Comedy Zone, he got me in with Comedy Zone. And back then there was a zillion Comedy Zones. Now there's not so many Comedy Zones.
Yeah, I haven't checked in on them lately. But I feel like the like Southeast, that was like really big, in like the Midwest. Comedy Zones were like a big thing for a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else he got me in with. Ken Muller was another who doesn't really have stuff much anymore, but comedy productions. Yeah, Mike Veneman was great at that. I owe a lot to Mike. He's passed away now, but he was a good dude, and the fact that, yeah, unlike taking the classes with Schwensen, you just took a class and you're done, and he's like 3 months later, hey, you want to take it again? Where Veneman actually would be like, okay, this guy is actually decent. Like, he knows, like, there'd be a lot of people that take it and never really progressed or wanted to progress. They just like being on stage once every 6 months, and like there are 10 people at the office get to see him be funny. Where he actually like, okay, if you were decent. Ryan Dalton was another comic that came up the same time I did. I don't know if you know
that name sounds familiar.
Dalton. He lives in LA now. He's done a bunch of stuff. Chad Zumock is another guy. I don't know if you know Zumock. He came out of there about the same time I did. Trying to think, Mike Polk, but Mike Polk did it his own way. He stayed in Cleveland and like blew up and he's the one that did that Cleveland tourism video.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a very funny dude too.
And so like he's like who's the guy he trademarked funniest man in America? You like tours the South.
James Gregory.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is he like the James Gregory for like the Ohio?
No, because
area?
James Gregory is actually a gay dude that will not admit that he's actually gay because his crowd would hate him if they knew that.
Right.
Yeah, Alberstadt. I don't know. I doubt Alberstadt still tours with him, but that's what Alberstadt used to do, is go around and tour with, open up for James Gregory. Same thing with Etta May. She's a lesbian, and all her jokes were making fun of gay people. She'd wear a fat suit and
like Jane Lynch's character in Mrs. Maisel.
I never saw that, but yeah,
it's a good show. Jane Lynch she basically plays this aristocratic woman who plays this like has this very famous like kind of like poor trashy character from Queens which is completely atypical to who she is in real life. And
I heard of that. Yeah, I never saw it, but I heard of it. Yeah, I heard that's funny.
It's a really funny show.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those shows because there's so much out there, and I'm very picky when it comes to shows about stand-up comedy. Like I like Mike Birbiglia's movies about it. I think
right.
those were really good, but I was like, it took me a while to get around to Mrs. Maisel, but then I was glad I watched it because I watched it and laughed. I was like, this is good. I enjoy this. And Lenny Bruce like comes in. He's a character on the show, and Rachel Bronson, I think her name is.
Lenny Bruce is on it.
Well,
that's impossible.
A guy plays Lenny Bruce.
Oh, a guy plays. Okay,
like it's set in New York, and I guess like the '60s. So she like performs at the Gaslight Cafe.
Okay,
all the time, and Lenny Bruce will come in on occasion. Throughout like different shows she's on, he's doing sets in jazz clubs and stuff.
By the way, what do you think? Like Lenny Bruce's comedy? What? Be honest. What do you think of it?
I think I'm too far removed from the time to.
It doesn't age well.
At it. I could. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like
I could see a punchline coming, even if I'm not in that day and age. I could still see a punchline when I'm supposed to recognize a punchline. It seems like a lot of. Maybe I'm just watching the wrong stuff, but it seems like I watch old Bill Cosby. I still see the jokes. I still see where they're coming.
Right.
I listen to old Richard Pryor, Carlin. I can still see where the joke. I watch him like I don't see.
I don't hear it either. Yeah. Like it just kind of feels like a monologue. It just kind of feels like an actor doing monologue. Yeah, that is not as crazy a thought as you think, because I thought had him on that, like he's one of the greatest comedians ever. But then when I actually like got my hands on like a recording, I would listen to him and be like,
yeah,
I don't hear it, man.
Yeah, I can detect a joke or an attempt for a joke, and like some of them, like I don't.
Yeah, even like somebody like Bill Hicks, who I saw everybody that was inspired by Bill Hicks.
Right.
So, and then even when I would go back and watch it, I could say, oh, that's good. There's the punchline there. I could see. Oh, now I see how he was the first person to do a lot of what was done later.
Right.
Like I could see like the origin of it.
I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the greatest of all time.
I agree. Yeah, there's a few people now. I've read a couple articles where, like, I guess the newest generation is like, I don't know if he's as good as everyone says. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Go watch an evening at the Improv and look at all the hokiness everybody else is doing, and he also had to go up while all that was going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Just remembering that or that scene, I think it's from Chicago, that one video from Chicago where he just like, this woman says you suck, and he just lays into her and just like starts insulting her and yelling at her to get out, and then he dances around the stage like, I'm drunk and I have a cunt. I can do anything I want. and then after he calms down, he sits down on the stool. He's like, I'm sorry you guys had to see that. It's just like, it's like, oh, Bill, are you working out a set for your next Arsenio spot? But I agree with you.
I do think he's his own worst enemy. A lot of it, like if you look at it, like, but those 4 albums that were out when we were younger, I think those are 4 of the greatest comedy albums ever.
Oh yeah, like Rant Name Minor is
E minor. Come on.
E minor. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I haven't listened to it in a while, but. But yeah, man. So was Hicks somebody for you early on? Who was, like, when you were getting into stand up, like, who were you wanting to be? Like, who was inspiring to you?
I was inspired by, like, when I was a little kid. Remember Robin Harris? I thought Robin Harris was great. He's a new Bebe's Kids.
Oh, yep.
You want to talk legit? Yeah.
Yep. I remember Bebe's Kids. Yep.
I liked him. Who else was amazing?
Trying to think who was
Hicks, obviously.
Yeah,
but
Hicks.
Did they inspire me? No, dude, you don't understand. Like, even as I was still horrible. Like, here's how I used to do a thing about being Italian. Like, I'm Italian, and like people think like I forget the joke like we care about our penis or something, but no, we just like a lot of Italians are just our hair. We just care about our hair. We just want a woman like you or you to rub your fingers through our hair. And then I pulled on my pants. There's a big wig and my underpants. It was so stupid. It was so stupid, and it was, you know what I mean? Like I'm
sure, yeah.
I sucked. I'm not gonna lie. I was but I mean I don't want to speak for you, but your first couple years weren't you also?
I was
atrocious.
I was not good. I would have my couple of jokes that worked, but I was like what made me want to get on stage and do comedy was like Dimitri Martin and Stephen Wright and Mitch Hedberg and like all those like. So I was very much being that, and because I didn't have a ton of jokes, I decided to fill the time by just telling the jokes very slowly. So I was like, if I take a long time to tell this joke, it will fill in time, and then if they're not laughing, okay, I'm just going to not say anything for the amount of time that they would laugh, and then I'll start the next joke. So and so I was trying to be like a surreal one-liner comic in suburban Baltimore in sports grills. That's where where I started. So I was trying to do like really like stuff that you kind of have to pay attention to and think about, and like everyone most of my friends are like very high energy, or like like super, or like super blue, like like Dave Attell or like guys like that.
Right. Oh, Attell was amazing. I mean, come on. When we were starting, I thought Attell was like insanely good.
Oh, dude, I saw him live for the first time last December at Caroline's, and I hadn't laughed that hard at a stand-up show in the longest time.
He's amazing.
It felt great. It was he is one of the best of all time. I just hope he continues to perform until he drops dead.
He's fantastic.
I loved him. Okay, so you're starting so you've got this base of shows in like the Cleveland area. When do you start featuring on the road?
You know what's crazy? Like within like a year and a half or 2 years, like Venom and there's another comedian that was a headliner out of the area, Carrie White, and he would let me feature for him a lot. And one of the reasons was because I had a car and I drive him, which is fine. I don't care. So that got me a lot of work early on that I probably wasn't ready for. But I mean, like that's what. And then he had fun with it too, because when I would go up, like I remember it was a comedy cafe in Macon, Georgia, and I just ate it. All these rednecks just hating me, and Carrie was fine with it because he just go up and like his first 15 minutes was like making fun of me. And I mean, even though I felt like shit, it's like, all right, well, I'm not getting fired. I'm still, you know what I mean? Like I'm still. He's like, relax, dude. You're gonna get better. Like, you just suck right now. You're just starting out. You're gonna suck.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't feel good. Just sitting there getting shit on by the headliner. But it was fine because it's like, and then eventually you do get better. But yeah, I mean, first couple of years. Another thing I would do starting out, I don't know if you did this, but I would just go to karaoke nights in Cleveland. And this is like the early 2000s where there's not like a bunch of comedy spots.
Sure.
And I would just put in my name, and instead of singing a song, I'd get up and tell jokes. And surprisingly, it was met with better response than it should have been, because they're like all supportive karaoke people in Ohio.
Sure.
It's not like a karaoke here in Astoria, because like they'll do it like at Sunswick and the karaoke, and they're all like actually like wannabe Broadway singers, where it's like all. But back there, it's just a bunch of drunk people from Ohio singing Leonard Skinner songs. So they don't give a shit.
I'll tell you what, I did something similar. I never did that at a karaoke night, but one time my friend Ben Rosen and I, he's another comic from Baltimore, we were in Union Square in Manhattan, and someone had set up a microphone and people were like doing political rants. I don't think there was any, it wasn't part of a protest or anything like that, but it was just some kind of mic where you could like, I don't know, yell about the government or whatever.
Right.
And this was like, I feel like this was and this was under Obama. So like some people were kind of digging for something to be mad at. So we got in line and we're like, hey, we're going to tell some, we're going to do some stand up for you guys. And like I taped him and then he taped me, and people were into it. And then people clapped, and then and then we
That's weird that
put
works
the
out in
mic
New York
down.
City. I can't see that working out in New York City. I could see any other town in America, people, but I just assume everyone is just hates everything.
Oh, well, like 2000,
Me included. I mean,
well, 2012, I feel like that could work. 2019, I feel like it would be met differently.
Right.
I think because people, I guess the stakes feel higher.
Right.
Right now.
Oh, you mean politically? Yeah.
Politically, yeah.
It's just gotten.
The people that I agree with, are mad at me a lot of the times. It's honestly exhausting.
I don't like. You know what? It's weird. It's just the way it changed. Because years ago, it used to be that politicians had to watch their P's and Q's and worry about what they say, and anyone else can just say whatever they want. Now it's like we got to police ourselves, and our president can apparently say whatever the hell he wants, and it's only weird.
No
How
consequences.
how the hell did this switch? How did we get held to higher standards than our president? Like,
I know.
Where did this? I don't know how that happened.
I know. I think he is just so dangerously bad and scary to so many people
that we all have to watch our shit. Like, why am I going to worry about what he doesn't have to? Like, it used to be the other way around. You imagine if Clinton would have just went up and like called people cunts or something? Not that I'm sure that I'm not sure Trump. Then again,
here's
I could see him saying that and not being held
and here's my thing about him. You know how just the act of thinking of something absurd, it probably exists somewhere. You could think of any random crazy thing Trump has said, and he will probably say it in like a day or two.
Right. Yeah, I don't know where that it switched.
Yeah,
where did it switch?
I think it happened when he got elected. I think eventually, if we continue to have presidential elections, when we eventually get someone else in there, like someone who's normal, a little more laid back, or a little bit more like gives off the general impression that they are trying to help people.
Right.
I feel like it'll probably cool down eventually. I think he's got everybody's id on like really high alert, and I'm test driving this theory with you right now, but I feel like people it's an instinctual kind of tribalism that's occurring. Like everyone's just kind of like seeking safety in people that they have the most in common with, and being overly reactive to anyone who has any sort of dissension.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on neither side. Like I'm not left or right. Like I'm, you know what I mean? I think anyone that's closed-minded and only thinks left and only thinks right it's somewhere in the middle. And the fact that more people are just all left or all right now is like that. I think that's a problem. Like nobody's like open-minded to.
Yeah, it's all the extremes. There's no nuance.
Yeah,
there's no room.
Weird.
There's no room for nuance. Yeah, man. So like I've talked to like that. Like I was asking like Kevin McCaffrey, who about like, oh, like how do you do political stuff when like you're in Trump country? And then he just says, well, you know, I'm gonna butcher what he said. Listener, you can go back listen to that episode. But basically, you know, as long as the joke is good, most times people will laugh at it or be able to laugh at themselves, is what I found.
Maybe if you have a joke that doesn't choose sides, but sometimes like John Fugelsang's very funny. He just did a show with him last night. But if you get too to the left, it's like too agenda. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. There's the sort of like, if it feels too like political speech compared to like actual jokes.
Yeah.
Like I like Seth Meyers because he tears Trump to shreds, but like a closer look, that segment, there's still jokes in it.
Right.
Or Colbert still has jokes. It's not just like a blast, like a screed. Like I've got this bit I'm working on where I say like I hate the fact that the president is just like a fat lazy person, because that means all the protests are physical now. I would love to bring back the sit-in. like Occupy was my jam.
Oh.
Like Occupy is like, yeah, because it's like I'm 33. I'm like, my mode is like pretty sedentary. Like, you know, I don't. And like I'm trying to go for the joke I have in it right now. It's like I don't want to say I'm overweight, but my Fitbit recognizes when I eat really intensely.
Nice.
So I like that's inherent. That's like a joke about the president, but I don't feel like it is political or meant to like it's meant. I'm trying to be funny. I'm not trying to make people feel bad.
Right. Well, you're joking about protests, not the actual like what goes on at a protest, no matter what it is, as opposed to the person.
Right.
That's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you do pull up, but yeah, when it gets too left or right and like too agenda driven, it's like
yeah, because that's when you become like a speaker and you're not a comic,
right
anymore.
Right.
Like the mode is entertainment. How long did you feature on the road before you decided that you're like I don't want to keep doing this, I'm going to move to New York?
Well, I knew I had to do something, and then also like I wanted to try to expand something. Like I wanted to get on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to get on TV.
Same here.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a few things, but nothing, you know, like, so when I first moved here, and then a friend of ours, Dan Allen, that basically my friends were like Jesse's friends, and then Dan Allen, who lived in this neighborhood, we started a show called Sacapuntas at Bowery Poetry Club.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was good at like interacting with like getting people on board, like, so we got a web series through AOL's asylum.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was Dan and I were doing videos, and then Dan actually quit comedy. He doesn't really do comedy. He stopped a while ago, but he was like, we started doing the videos, and I was writing all this stuff, and then he wasn't. So they were like, all right, we can't be in here for 3 hours. We're just shooting a video. And I would have all the jokes written, so I would have to write his stuff too. And then he did a few of them, and then he's like, you know what, you just do it. And then I'd have other people come on do it with me. So like I did one with Hannibal, I did one with Ted Alexandro, Kurt Braunhoy. They're still up on YouTube. Like Shalou and stuff. So I got a web series there, and then that led into me getting a web series when they went under AOL's Asylum. I got Ryan McKee, who now, I don't know where he's, I think he's at James Corden. But before he took that, he was in charge of MTV's website, and he's like, hey, you want to do the same videos here? And I was like, yeah. So then I did that. And then I had a commercial agent for a while. I would audition. I never liked auditions because it just seemed like a waste in the day. I would just go there, and it's like 20 people that look just like me, that have way more acting experience than I do.
Sure.
And like I was like, I'm not even. But here's how my auditions were. Like the people that when I first started, they would laugh, but for the wrong reasons. Just because I was so like a fish out of water.
Right.
So like people are like, oh, you got them laughing at the audition. That's no, not when you got. They're kind of laughing at me, not.
Yeah.
Because I remember Michael Somerville.
Yep, I do.
This is for when Whoopi Goldberg had a sitcom.
Oh wow.
Yes, this is a while ago. This is like so we're auditioning at the same audition, and he's in the room with me. And after my audition, he like pulls me aside. He's like, hey man, that was great. It's like I didn't hear him laugh for anyone else. They were laughing. they were laughing during your whole audition, and I was like, no, it wasn't a good thing. It was just me like over the top nervous and like me saying the wrong thing and like.
What was the audition for?
Just some guy on the show. Some guy who I don't even think like really was on the show much at all. I never watched, but he was auditioning for the same thing. Some random guy. At the time, I was young, so it was like some random young guy that worked at the hotel because they worked at a hotel.
Okay.
So some guy that like changed stuff in the hotel or whatever, and he's like, "Wow, that was really good. You had them laughing," and they're like, "No, they were not laughing. If they were laughing, it was not the right reasons." Yeah. I did not get a callback. I never got a callback. I just felt like that would make me feel more down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when I was really By the time I got to New York, I think was very zeroed in and focused on trying to be a stand-up comic and like get past places, which did not go very well.
Dude, it's still it doesn't matter. Like every time I get past that stand up New York, I've been passed there by like 4 different bookers. That person's immediately gone. Like the bookers like as soon as you get in somewhere, it's like it's already And then right now, it's you just got to develop your own following, however that is, like whatever it is, like that's it.
That's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, that's what you got. That's what you got to do. It's all about building your own audience and then go from there. Like there's no. Especially, I mean, like now I'm 40. You said you're 30, so you still got some years. But like, yeah, the industry's done with me. Like I used to audition for. I haven't auditioned for JFL in like the last 7 years, but I used to get an audition every year. I got a couple callbacks, but they're done looking. You know what I mean? Like they're Comedy Central. I used to showcases for them. I never performed for them on TV. I've been on different shows because other people put me on like little bit parts on their shows that were in Comedy Central, but like I never got to perform on there or anything. Yeah, they quit including me on their showcases. So yeah, it's just you got to find your own audience.
Yeah, that's what I started kind of realizing. That's what I'm trying to do here. This is actively part of the find your own audience plan. But which is what I kind of like that's an option now, because it used to be. I feel I would see some of these like these stories about. There's just so many fucking sad, like this person was really funny and things looked like things were going to happen and then it didn't. And I used to get I would get like scared of those kinds of stories, and then I would talking about like comics that I feel like are like, oh, they must be doing great, and they're like, their lives are just about ready to fall apart as much as mine was. Right. They're just maybe getting on stage more, so there's like higher stakes. So that's really what I started kind of thinking. It's like, oh, if I can have something that like people can't take away from me, because I also feel like that too. I feel like and this is going to be, I feel like comedian fame can go away so quickly for any number of reasons. Right. Like someone could be doing really, really well, and then they have the same options that I do. Right. So that's when I was like, you know what?
You got to find an audience and keep it.
Yeah.
Like that's
gonna just find my door and stay on it.
Yeah. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. So. And did you ever have was there like a moment on the road where you were just like, fuck, I'm done? Did you ever have was there like a straw that broke the camel's back moment, or did you just kind of like naturally feel like, you know what, I can stay in New York?
Oh, no, I just I didn't really have money on the road. I wasn't you don't get paid that much featuring, you know what I mean? You just keep doing it, and it was just more like, all right, this is not the answer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just, it's more so like I'd be working with some guys that just did the road like nonstop, and also the days of just being a road dog, just going from club to club and no one knowing you, seem to also be ending.
I think so, with the exception of Chad Daniels. I don't.
No, but Chad Daniels is, people know who he is. He's still out there relevant on TV and stuff. He's doing, you know what I mean? Like, he's still relevant as far as like, he's still like on late night and stuff.
I think I know what you're saying, but I think there was a time, and I don't know when that was exactly. I feel like there was a time even like outside of the 80s.
I think he's great, by the way. I think Chad Daniels.
He's hilarious, and I feel like people always mention him as like he just lives in Minnesota, and he doesn't live in New York or LA, and he headlines all around the country. But I do agree with you. The times where there were just a ton of headliners that would just make their living headlining on the road without national like TV exposure. I don't think that happens. I don't think that happens now. I think there's
a few of them, and the ones that I'm thinking, I'm not going to say their names because I'm about to shit on them.
Sure.
But they're more like just crowd pleasers, like more like just in charge of a pep rally of like, let's do shots and like blah, blah. And it's like I saw one guy when I was starting out and I was featuring for him, and the MC was like, this is like after 9/11 or something, and he's like, I'm gonna do the MC's like, I'm gonna go out and do a toast for the troops, and the headliner's like, well, wait, I'm the guy that does a toast for the troops, and they fought over that.
Oh my God.
So they came to a compromise where they'll go up together and do the toast, and it's like, wow, like I don't want to be that guy. And they also turned the show. Oh, I got a great story I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
But they basically turned the show into like a flea market to just sell their shit. Like, and it's just them selling 15 different T-shirts and like shot glasses and like CDs of you know, but basically T-shirts, like T-shirts, bumper stickers, blah blah blah. Just get out there. Speaking of which, this is when Bergazzi first got to New York. This is back when I was just doing the road full time, and he's from
Nate Bargatze?
Yeah, Nate Bargatze, who just flew right fucking past me. So I'm featuring in Knoxville, and he's from like Nashville or something. He happened to be like in Nashville, and he's like, "Hey, I was gonna drive up your feature there. Can I do some guest spots?" Like, he's asking the feature because that's who you ask is the feature.
Sure.
And but no, I knew the people at the comedy. I knew whoever the hell was headlining. I knew him pretty good. And I knew the people. I've been to Knoxville Comedy Show in a bunch. That was a great club, by the way. It's since gone. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem. Like, and he crashed my hotel room and did shows, like did guest spots for like that Friday and Saturday and stuff. But the MC would do a joke. This is the first show Nate was at, and the MC would do a joke about how he was watching the show where they do this labia reduction. And the doctors like clip off part of her labia, and then they just throw it away. It's like, why are you throwing that away? That's good pussy right there. You should save it. You should. That's lesbian chewing gum. You should call it coochie fruit. And then he had T-shirts where instead of juicy fruit, it's had coochie fruit. And he's like, and he'd sell them after the show. So like when I'm on stage. Or the headliner's on stage. Again, I'm just featuring here. I'm not even headlining.
Sure.
And Nate's like talking to the guy that's doing. It's like, hey man, you know what? You're better than that. You don't need to do that joke. You know, you're gonna think of some better jokes, but you know that's small potato. You gotta think big picture. You're better than that joke. You shouldn't think about doing that joke. Then after the show, Nate and I just stood there and watched him sell like 75 T-shirts.
Oh my God. That would break me.
Yeah. And Nate just goes up to him after. He's like, hey, man, just forget everything I said.
If there's a choice between making a comfortable living doing comedy and having to sell the coochie fruit T-shirt and like doing like 7-minute spots for drink tickets and having like a regular job in New York, I'd rather do the other.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because like Nate Bargatze is so funny and like so respected.
Right.
that he's like, forget whatever I said.
Well, he was trying to give him like, and
Sure.
Nate was like actually trying to like be like, like trying to give him like some sincere advice.
Yeah.
It's like, but Nate never saw the way the road, like these stupid bar rooms work or stuff in middle America.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? So it's like a lot of clubs like they'll have a comedy club Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but then the booker will have like a one-nighter, like 50 miles out of the town to like get you, you know what I mean? To like, make it more cost effective, and then you go there and you do those, and then you could sell a zillion. Everyone's buying a coochie fruit.
Yeah, everyone's buying it.
Everyone, yeah. The worst, I
sort of want to buy one as a joke now.
yeah. I wonder if they're still online. I want to say the guy's name, but I don't want to.
You could tell me after.
Yeah. I wonder if he's still out there. He's got to be.
I imagine because like. Who is that other that there's that other really famous I know John Fox is another very legendary.
Oh yeah, he's like over the top right wing guy, and I just saw him getting backlash the other way of
Is he still alive? I thought he passed away.
no. Okay, I'm thinking of someone. I'm thinking of Steve Mudflap McGrew.
Yeah, Steve Mudflap McGrew.
I'm thinking of McGrew.
He was on the blue collar new generation DVD.
Yeah.
And then he got shit for like being like pro Trump, and then he was part of. There was an article with like him and Owen Benjamin where they're like, oh, we're conservative, but we're in hiding now, and I can only do book shows in like secret venues, and I release the tickets like an hour before, so people don't protest. He was like in one of those articles. But John Fox, the story I remember that a few people told on Marin, and this is where I also thought, you know what, I don't think featuring on the road is how I wanted to end up either. As I think he was telling.
Yeah,
this
John Fox
story.
was before. I think he was dead before. I'm gonna say he died before 2000.
I think he died. He died.
But he was a road
ago.
legend. Stanhope would always tell stories. By the way, Doug Stanhope was one of the nicest dudes starting out, because I went to school in Bowling Green, which is by Toledo. So like Toledo Connections is another, because I was just a few years out of college, so I still had some college friends.
Sure.
And I would just go down to Connections in Toledo, that comedy club, and like do the open mics. And then this is also the time when there's like a comedy forum type thing.
Yeah.
Many years ago. I remember Roy Wood Jr. was on there.
Oh yeah, I see him in my office. I saw him in my office a few weeks ago at my day job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's funny. I like his
he's a
stuff
good
on
dude.
The Daily Show.
Yeah, I
Nice.
got a Roy Wood story.
I love absolutely. I love this stuff. But tell me what you're gonna tell me, and then tell me the Roy Wood.
But Stanhope, and again, like I said, I was horrible.
Uh-huh.
I doubt I did the wig in the pants, because I was just like doing like a 5-minute like open mics, and like he just happened to be there for the open mic night, and he's like, oh yeah, I know you from the forums. He's like, hang out this week. You can do guest spots every show. And I just did guest spots, and like Stanhope is like one of the bigger names that would come to Connections.
Yeah.
And then I was just like literally like 3 months into comedy, and I'm like, this guy's being. I was like, all headliners are this nice, and I was atrocious. But Stanhope had me do guest spots. If I ever see him, I think I saw him once or twice just in passing, but I really haven't seen him since. But just the fact that he let me do guest spots every night for no good reason, I was horrible.
Every story I've heard about Stanhope is that he's super nice.
Such a nice guy.
I've never met him or seen him live, but I really hope I get a chance to see him and to see him, because he makes me laugh so hard. Like Beer Hall Putsch, that chunk that he does about helping his mother kill herself.
Oh
is just, I feel like that's one of those just legendary bits that, like, when years from now, when we're all like, when we're all irrelevant, comics will still talk about that bit.
I think he's still hilarious and great, but my two favorite Stanhope CDs are his first two, just because, like, not he's still great. Don't get me wrong, and he's like more stories, but those first two, he was still like kind of like set up punch, like, and it was. Yeah, and it's like just his observations on things that like aren't affecting his life. So like now it's like more personal. It's like part of, and it's still great. Don't get me wrong, but those, go back in those first two about like the little girl who died doing her airplane or whatever.
Okay.
Like and their mom's like, well, she died doing what she loved. Like no, you fucking don't get in a jet and try to fly it. You get in like, and it's a great. I'm gonna ruin it, and I don't know exactly how it goes, but his first two CDs were amazing, because I'm just saying it's more like, imagine him being more like Attell, where it's like set up punches. It's more that as far as like long-winded stories, so
more
much.
anecdote stuff.
Yeah. All right, my Wood story. You want to hear the?
Yeah, tell me the Roy Wood story.
All right, so this is Tom Sobel. That's another booker that like who really doesn't have shit anymore. But he used to book a lot of stuff, and he put me and Roy Wood Jr. on a tour together. And so me featuring a bunch of colleges, and then also a few clubs. One of the clubs being the Stardome, which is where Roy started out. Like he's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
And if you remember, he also started out, he was he would do the morning radio shows
Mm-hmm.
for the urban station, and he would do like these prank phone calls. So he started with prank phone call CDs, and then also at that time he was a big BT Comic View. Like he was on Comic View a bunch, but he was also big in the black circuit based on these CDs, and also because of Comic View. So we're at his home club at the Stardome, which I've done the Stardome a few times. Stardome is only fun if they're there really to see you, because it's more like a theater-ish.
Yeah, it's
So-
like yeah, exactly. It's a theater.
Yeah, so they can like kind of not pay attention to you if they don't want to pay attention to you.
right.
So I've had great shows there, and I've had ones where like, why am I doing this? They don't want it. They don't want it. But with Roy, I knew how I was gonna do, because he had 2 BT Comic View comics that would come on before me, before I would do my set, and I would know how I would do based on the guy before me, because he had braids, and he would do a joke where he was at the local carnival, and his the braids were so strong that his braid got stuck in the roller coaster, and he fell out of the car. But the roller coaster's going, and he's just like, his body slapping against the side of the car as he's like going over as the roller coaster continues to go. And when that joke, now just listen to it, you're like, all right, well, that never happened. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, just so when that joke got that kind of reaction, like like that didn't really happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's obviously. But when that got like people stomping their feet and clapping and hooting and hollering, I'm like, they're going to hate me. Whenever that joke did well, I was fucked. When that joke got I killed. I was fine. But the second that got a big reaction, I'm like, I'm dead. I knew I was going to bomb. Before I even walked out there, I'm like, they're going to hate me. This is going to be, you knew before you went out there.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean. I've had a couple of sets at the old Baltimore Comedy Factory where when I was in my like super deadpan like intellectual phase, and I was just sort of, and you know, if it's a hump in the stool kind of crowd, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah,
I'm gonna die so hard.
Yeah, when that got a huge laugh, I'm like, and nothing hurts more when you know that before you even go out there. Like, I'm already dead in the water, and these are people that are having a good time. I'm just about to disappoint this entire audience.
Yeah,
that's having a great time. I'm gonna ruin it just by trying my best.
Yeah, the most. On occasion, the most I can do is I'll try to speak a little louder, maybe move around a little bit more, like try to give a little bit of what I think might work, but it doesn't always work.
Well, I can be animated just because I have anxiety and to get it out. So even as just telling a regular thing, I can be animated a little bit. I can have just because like I just have an anxiety issue that. So it's not like I'm not like I'm deadpanned. I'm going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're going to try to sell it, and I'm like, nope, I'm not the guy they want to see.
Just not. Yeah, but it's good to know. It's good to know that about yourself instead of like, because I used to beat myself up over that. But just knowing like, you know what, I'm not going to be for these people. But you know what, the set will end, and then we'll continue to have a nice show.
Yeah,
after I'm gone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love talking this kind of stuff. Like, this is the kind of like after the show, like diner till 2 a.m. or Waffle House or whatever kind of talk that is what I really love about being a comedian and talking to other comedians. There's this sort of like inherent like pride and masochism involved in the whole enterprise.
Right.
So you've been in New York for how long now? For
about 10 years.
About 10 years. And where are you at with your like what you want to do with comedy now? Because you were telling me that like the industry, you feel like the industry is pretty much done with you. Like what's the goal? What's making you? What's really like sparking your synapses?
Trying to find my own audience, like trying, also not being so hard on myself. Like I assume nobody gives a shit about me, and that's not true. I do have a little bit of an audience that, I accidentally have a CD, an album that
Yes, I remember from the video. It's like, this is gas money, people.
Yeah. No. Oh no.
Oh, you have another. You have another CD.
Just came out
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this is totally accidental. Totally accidental. I did Caroline's Breakout a few months back, and I got the audio from it, and there was nothing I was really going to do. But then Bob Biggerstaff and I have a podcast called The GHOLE. We just started it. It's called Greatest Hour of Listening Ever.
Yep.
And so we just started a podcast, and we had what's his name? Not Tom Rhodes. Tom. You know what? It's better I don't say his name.
Okay.
Because some comedians might hit him up. But he's an old-time comic that's done The Tonight Show a bunch. He does a comic strip now. But he's a dude in his 60s. And he was saying, like, he was like, hey, you have... it's like, oh, if you have, like, 20 minutes plus of audio, like, Sirius XM, his buddies in charge of comedy at Sirius XM, like,
oh, great.
They're always looking for new stuff. So if you have... And I was like, yeah, I got the audio of me, 50 minutes of me headlining Caroline's, and it's... And also in the whole crowd, like I host a show. I hosted Sacapuntas at Bowery Poetry Club, and because of that, like I already had email lists like 500 people, and then I host Northern Discomfort at the Stand every other Tuesday, which also like you comics out there, man, an email list works. I am proof of it. Last night I hosted the show, and I got like 20 other emails of people that had a good time. That's on your email list. Like they do come back. And then when I headlined Caroline's, like, part of me was like, all right. And also because I've been on Keith and the Girl a bunch. So, like, there's a bunch of Keith and the Girl fans. That podcast has been very good to me. And then also, like, doing, like, John Fugelsang, Sirius. So I do have, like, it's a tiny fan base, but it's some people. And also, like, I'm also the type of dude that'll get a beer with people. So, like, I have, like, not a stupid, like, you know what I mean? Like,
You're
I'm a
sociable.
a guy that will hang out with his fans afterwards, whatever. So,
and I think that means a lot. That really means a lot. I think.
That was a reason why I'm like one of the more popular guests on Keith and the Girl. Like they took me on tour with them or whatever.
Oh, nice.
Because of that, so I had my email list, and then I did the Caroline's Breakout, and I'm thinking, all right, these are people that come to the show because like Jim Gaffigan's on it all the time, and Janine Garofalo. Like I'm just the host. Over 200 people showed up that were there to see me. And then there's another like 50 confused tourists that are there. Like, I don't know why everyone loves this guy, but he doesn't suck. So I guess we'll love him too. And then I had the audio. And then so Tom goes, send it over to my guy. He listens. He's like, yeah, it sounds good. He's like, break it up into 3-minute segments, and we'll get it in rotation on Sirius XM. So I was like,
awesome.
I was like, yeah. So because of that, I was like, well, I did my first CD through CD Baby. And Carmen Lynch, who sometimes I go on the road with her, and she has download cards on CD Baby. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll go to CD Baby and buy some download cards of that audio and just have an album. So I did that. And then here's what else is because of my first album, I did not know this. My address for my royalties for the sound exchange checks were to my deceased father's house. So I have... Which it looks like I got it figured out, but there's like $250 of royalties that I never got for my first CD because of it's just sitting in a queue with CD Baby's like, by the way, you cannot contact iTunes.
Right.
At all. There's no, like, you can't. So CD Baby's handling that for me, and it looks like I'm getting that money. So my new album is out, but I want to make sure before I'm doing the opposite. You know how everyone else like plugs their album?
Yeah.
Before it comes out so they can be on the iTunes chart.
Sure.
I want to make sure everything is situated before people buy it. So it is on iTunes, but I want to say don't buy it yet till I make sure that it's all straightened out through CD Baby. But yeah, it's called Well, That Crowd Liked Me.
Well, I will wait for you to message me, and then I'll buy it. And then I'll buy it.
Yeah, but it is it's fine, and it's out there, and I think everything's gonna be cool. Like it's CD Baby's getting it all figured out or whatever for me. But yeah, so I that's not me thinking much of myself to put out that, and I was like, you know what? All right, Sirius XM's gonna play it. I might as well sell it, and then turns out I have a free $250 that I never collected on before because it was I don't know why. I never fixed that for my dad's address, or
Sure.
I never thought, I didn't know, so.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all going to be worked out, but yeah. So I have a new CD out. So
That's great, man. And GHOLE, you just started. How do you like podcasting?
you know what? I'm looking at your setup. I got to get better with the setup because sometimes the setup it sounds great, and then other times it's me screwing around for 15 minutes to get everything upright. So I got to learn how to. I don't know what it is, but sometimes the mixer everything's great and it's easy, and then other times the levels are weird. So
Oh well, yeah, I could totally help you. I could totally help you out with that. We could go over all this stuff. I have a bunch
well,
of
how about this? Come over one time and do it, and you can show me before we record the episode. If
that sounds great, man.
Yeah.
I'd love to do your show. And one more thing I want to ask you about before we get out here. I read on your website you were in one of the highest grossing Bollywood movies
Yeah.
of 2012.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, English Vinglish. She passed away a couple years ago. She was like
no.
she was a big deal, I guess.
The main actress?
Yeah, Sri Devi was her name.
Yeah, I was reading about it a little bit. They called her the Indian Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that's one of the few acting gigs I did get. You know, and that's hilarious. Like they had just as a throwaway line on my acting resume, it says I could recite the lyrics to any Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons song.
I saw that. Yeah,
which is true. Is true. I like Frankie Valli a lot. So I'm on the audition. They go like, oh, says here you can recite like "Let's Hear It," and so I just saying, "Working my way back to you, babe, with a burning love inside." Like, and they're like, well, here it was for a gay cab driver, and they're like, good enough. They're like, good enough. That's gay enough. You get it. And by the way, it only paid like $250. It was, and the whole thing that they wanted to do is to show how crazy New York City is. So that's what I was. I was which, by the way, this is a Bollywood movie. Everyone's Indian except me.
Right.
Who looks like a New York City cab driver? Me or everyone in the cast?
I see your point.
Yeah, I am the only one that does not look. And we do not have gay cab drivers in New York City.
No, I have not met one.
Yeah.
And I've taken a lot of cabs in New York.
Yeah, and this is before Uber too. You know what I mean? Like now, maybe you get some.
Right.
But back then, no. So, and by the way, my gay outfit was just a colorful scarf. That's what I wore.
I love that. That's Bollywood's idea of
Yeah.
gay people.
And also, Bollywood movies, everything is guerrilla shoots. Everything, yeah. Like this Meryl Streep of Bollywood, Sri Devi. They just started recording a scene. Didn't tell anyone. Just started recording in a Starbucks down by Houston, and just an employee at it was like, "Yeah, you cannot film here."
And they're like, "We're already done."
Yeah. You think Meryl Streep had to deal with that?
No, because I bet there's like contracts and like permission.
Yeah, everything's a guerrilla shoot with everything.
Wow.
All of like I was only in one scene. It's just me walking down the street and me in a car. It wasn't even a cab. Just her getting in a car and me like where do you want to go, honey? And that's it. That was my dumb scene.
Wow. And I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna find this movie and watch it. But is this like traditional Bollywood where there's like these huge colorful dance sequences?
I don't know because I never watched the movie. I never watched it. I saw parts of it, and it is like just the hustle and bustle of New York City.
Yeah, that sounds interesting because
I'm wearing my clothes with just a scarf, just a white
scarf.
Yeah,
and they got it done, and then it grossed all this, and then I have no idea what the conversion rate on, but on what money on the.
I just got like I said, it was $250.
Yeah, that
was it.
Yeah, and then and that's the highest grossing, and that's like the highest grossing thing of their year. That's crazy.
If I put that, double check that, but I think it won an Oscar. I don't know if
I'm gonna check this right now. Do you while I'm looking this up? I'm just curious because do you watch do you ever watch foreign film at all? I'm
no,
very.
I don't even watch our films, like American films.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did see the one that just came out, the Tarantino one.
I haven't seen that yet, but I hear it's like the best thing he's ever done. I've heard it's very good.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I thought it could have been way shorter.
Yeah, his last couple movies have been pretty long. I went to like a road show presentation of The Hateful Eight. Let's see here. Okay, partially reshot in. Oh, you know what it was? It won, let's see, Best Director Award. It was shortlisted as India's official entry for the Academy Awards for Best Foreign Language Film. It became a major financial success, grossing 91.42 CRORE against a budget of
$10. Budget of $10.
Wow.
I was there.
Wow, I feel like that's saying a lot to that film industry, because I feel like trying to get that done in with an American studio, it would never get all this acclaim. So that's wild. I'm gonna find this movie.
Yeah, it was just guerrilla shoots. At least the 2 days I was there, it was just guerrilla shoots. There was no permits. They just start shooting on Houston. They just be walking down and just filming people on the street, and people on the street like, hey, because they just see cameras.
They just see a camera.
Yeah, and that's all they wanted. That's what I was part of the, I think I put a picture on Instagram of some of the other dudes that were in the movie with me, but that's what we were supposed to be. We were just look how crazy New Yorkers can be.
Sure.
That is what we were cast as. And that was only because I was supposed to be a gay guy. That is it.
That's hilarious, man. So there's some hilarious. I love the stories that we accumulate just from trying to get somewhere in show business. I love this kind of random stuff like that, because you could be the funniest person in Akron, but you're not gonna do Bollywood.
Yeah.
I love cool shit like this, man.
Well, I'm sure none of it paid. I'm sure even if you had a bunch of lines, I'm sure it paid not. Like I said, just $250. When Gaffigan did his show, and I did have a few lines on Gaffigan's, so he gave me some. But even when he just needed people in the background, he's like, hey, you want to just show up and be in the background at Gotham, one of the comics in the background? Even that paid $300 for just being a background, where you had lines in a movie that's nominated for awards, and it's $250. Which all right, I have nothing else to do that day. I'm in.
Yeah, why not?
So
that's hilarious. Hilarious.
But there was no contract signed. There's no.
What, they just give you an envelope at the end of the day?
Might as well. I think we actually did get checks.
Awesome.
Yeah, but they might as well have just.
Yeah, that's how you know it's a real production. It's
it's
not just anyone asks you where you got this, don't tell.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing
thanks
this.
for having me.
This has been great. Is there anything we can plug before we get out?
I'd say the GHOLE podcast. The GHOLE podcast is, the whole premise is comics have to reveal a guilty pleasure, or let's say a new story that you're really intrigued with, or something. It's just it could be anything. We had Camille Thiebold on. She talked about how she's into going to sex parties. We had Calvin Cato on. He talked about how he's into Magic the Gathering. We had Jeff Leach on. He talked about how he's into Renaissance fairs. So, it could be anything, and whatever the spectrum.
I've got three topics I would pitch you right now before we get out. I'm really into anime, reading about the sinking of the Titanic, and early 2000s pop punk music.
Okay, for the fact that our logo looks anime, it's a very anime logo.
I like your logo. I remember, I think I saw, we were talking about when you just started your show. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just a couple months in, and it's fun. It's good times. We're starting to get a little bit of a fan base. We're not much of one, but we're starting to get we're starting to get. I think a lot of, because we had Kevin Brennan do it, and
cool.
So because his fans, because we do Bob and I do his podcast, so I think some of his fans kind of started paying it. Anything to make fun of Bob is pretty much. So it's been fun. It's good times.
Awesome, man. And it's your own thing. You're finding your own thing. Which is
starting. Yeah, getting it going. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and
Thank
it's fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me, Ray.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy.
Okay, folks, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I love Ray. Ray's a great comic, and I really enjoyed getting to chat with him and talk about this beautiful thing, comedy, that I love so much. And I like to remind myself that I do love it because sometimes the other stuff in the actual business side of show business, it gets lost for me sometimes. Just the pure fun of talking about things that are funny and getting on stage. So thank you, Ray, for coming over and doing the show. And I want to give a special shout out to my supporter on Patreon at the awesome producer level, Mary Beth Mooney. Thank you so much. I think you're great, and I really appreciate your support. If you guys want to check out some of the rewards that I have on patreon.com, you can check out patreon.com/awesomedisaster. You can sign up and get stuff that I will not be posting anywhere else publicly. And if you enjoy the show and want to help others find it, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. And if you want to leave a review on Apple or add us to your favorite playlist on Stitcher, that kind of helps other people find the show as well. And I, of course, would really appreciate it. So it's almost fall, and I'm glad it is. I'm glad it's almost fall. I feel like my soul, like my spirit, is fall centered. The kind of clammy humidness of summer I'm a little done with. So thank you guys again for being here. I hope you're well wherever you are, and I will see you next week between Awesome and Disaster. Take care, everybody.